Like I got a little camera.
Oh, look at that.
Hey guys, welcome! It is Valentine's Day. How are you guys doing? That's kind of what I expected, actually.
Alright, so you guys know, most of you know Gwen. She's our 7-year-old. She's a little emotional. She is just like a ball of fire. She gets all of this energy and she absorbs emotions. She gets it from me. I'm an absorber. I absorb the emotion of the moment. I don't know if anybody's like that, but whatever's happening between me and somebody else, I absorb everything that they're feeling inside of me. Does anybody like that? Like when you walk into a room, you just immediately just take the emotions of the room in? Yeah, and it's a great thing when it comes to connecting to people. Like I've always been able to connect to people very, very quickly. I can walk into any situation and then usually within a minute, I can make a connection with somebody because I absorb what they're feeling in the moment. The bad part of being an absorber is that when you take all that in and you don't have a way to get rid of all that, it becomes very, very unhealthy. And this actually is the basis of probably most of the arguments that Elise and I have, is that there is a situation where Elise is very stressed out because she's surrounded by kids all the time. And then like I'll step into that, just like hanging out with adults all the time, and I'll step into the situation and she's super stressed. And then I absorb all the stress and then I don't know what to do with all the stress, which makes Elise like extra mad because she's frustrated from her day, and then now she's extra frustrated because she has to now then like dissolve, deal with me. So anyway, Gwen, she's picked that up for me, and I think it's actually up a whole different level. So we're trying to help Gwen navigate through that because I believe that your weaknesses and your strengths are very much the same. And so I don't ever want to be the kind of dad that suppresses that in my daughter. I want to navigate that because I think that fire is important. I think one day God's going to use it to do incredible, great things. So I want to try to like get that fire in the right direction. So we got her an angry emoji pillow. Anybody have any emoji pillows? Anybody have any of those? Okay, so we got the angry face emoji pillow. And the way the angry face emoji pillow works is that when she's losing her mind, she's allowed to go to her room, stick her face in the pillow, and just scream as loud as she wants, okay? So, sure enough, about a couple days after we got the angry emoji pillow, I come home from church, and I'm just getting to the house. Normally when I get in, like, everybody comes and talks to me. First, the dog talks to me, and then Faith comes and talks to me. And sometimes Faith acts like the dog talking to me. It's weird. And then usually then Gwen follows behind. Well, there was no Gwen. And right about the moment I was about to ask, where's Gwen, I heard it upstairs. Ah! Like, but it was muffled because it was in the angry pillow. It was like, ah! And I was like, oh, the angry pillow, it's working. Like, it's great. This is what we do. And so it's actually a pretty amazing thing. Has anyone ever done this before? When you've had a lot of emotion build up inside of you, has anyone just screamed before? Anyone ever do that? It is very therapeutic. It's actually a very, very powerful thing. I wish that we could do it more often in more places, but it's just not socially acceptable. Like, you imagine walking down the hallway and you're just overwhelmed by school, and all of a sudden you just go, ah! Like, could you imagine that? People would be like, what is happening with this person? Like, it would just be crazy. You imagine like you're at the restaurant and you're stressed and you just scream, or you're at the mall and you just scream. it would be very healthy, I think, if people did more of that. But if you did, people would probably look at you like a weirdo. Like, that's strange. Why would you do that? And it's really sad because somewhere in life, we were taught that when you're dealing with stuff, you should just keep it in. You shouldn't get it out. Like, screaming is one thing that's very weird. But you know what's crazier is that I think what's even more strange for people is just actually talking about your emotions. We don't know what to do when people do that. It becomes this thing where we don't know how to deal when people are being honest about what's happening inside of them. And it's really sad because this whole thing about screaming when you're feeling overwhelmed is really just saying out loud what everybody else is feeling almost all the time, and that's this: I'm not okay. The majority of us are not okay. I mean, we weren't okay before everything that happened last year happened. Forget this past year. Like, it's crazy. Today is Valentine's Day, February 14th. This is the 1 year from the last event we did in student ministry. The last event we did together was our Valentine's Day party, and then a couple weeks later, everything shut down. And I don't know about you, but this last year was just crazy. Like, I went through a lot of things personally, just emotionally, spiritually, over this past year. And a lot of it was because of all these things in my life that were taken away from me. It took me about 3 to 4 months into this thing to realize something, that I'm not okay. And I remember the moment that it happened. I remember being in the kitchen. I remember Elise and I are talking. It's super emotional. I'm absorbing her emotion. I'm absorbing the emotion of the people in my life. And I started crying. And I just told her, I said, I'm not okay right now. And I don't know how to fix it. I just know I'm not okay. And somewhere along the line, we believe this lie that to say you're not okay is not okay. And that's not true. It's not true for a lot of different reasons, but the biggest reason why it's not true, and what we're going to be doing over the next couple weeks, we're going to be hanging out in Matthew chapter 26. And it's the moment where Jesus is praying in the garden before he's about to go die for the sins of the world. And the reason why this is going to be such a significant verse for us and why we're going to hang out with it in 2 weeks is because in that moment, Jesus is saying out loud what a lot of us feel. And he's saying, I'm not okay. We actually have the verse up there. If you want to go put it up there, Ethan. It says, Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, sit here while I go over there and pray. He's just a couple hours away from the worst day that the history of anyone is ever going to ever experience. Jesus is so stressed out that he actually sweats drops of blood. It's an actual medical condition that happens in high stress with the blood vessels right here at the top of your head, that you get so stressed that they actually rupture and they mix in with your sweat glands. And when you sweat drops of blood. That's how stressed out he was. And it says that he said, sit here while I go over there and pray. And taking with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. And he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me. And Jesus is not okay. Jesus, the Son of God, the most perfect person to ever walk this earth, the person who has an answer for everything, the person who can do anything. He's not okay. Here's what's crazy. If Jesus is not okay, and he can say it, then why do you and I always try to act like we're okay? All the time. Why do we do that? What is it inside of us that we can't say out loud what's actually going on inside of us, and we're trying to pretend like we're okay, as if we're trying to prove something to a bunch of people that are also trying to prove the same thing? Because the reality is we're not okay. There are things that we're wrestling with and struggling with that are hard, and it is affecting us. And you got to get that out. Because what you can't say out loud owns you. It owns you. So I don't have to really be, I don't even have to actually know you very well to know that truth. That if we had a conversation and I tried to dig a little deep into your life, I could figure out what's going on with you because it's the thing you're not going to say out loud. It's the thing that you won't even say out loud when it's just you. What you can't say out loud, what you can't get outside of you, what you can't verbalize, that thing, that owns you. And that's a really dangerous game to play. Because for whatever reason, when we're not okay, we think the answer is just to seem like we're okay. And listen, I know we've been wearing these masks for a year, but some of us have been wearing masks almost our entire lives. It's the mask of acting like I'm okay, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, when it's completely opposite of that. So then, how do we start to move on? How do we start to try to be okay? Well, that's what we're going to do the next couple weeks. We're going to press into that. We're going to dig deep and hopefully have some really honest and open conversations with each other about why we're not okay. And so I just really want to invite you to get engaged over these next couple weeks. And if you've got somebody in your life that's struggling, somebody in your life that's going through something, and they could use a safe place to be heard, I just invite you to bring them here. Next week, we're going to press into suicide. We're going to talk about self-harm. We're going to talk about sometimes what we need from other people is not answers, but we just need people to sit in our mess and just be with us as we're going through things. Because there is this darkness that surrounds all of us that's trying to overwhelm us and shut us down. And Jesus talks about darkness and light all the time in the scriptures. It is this thing that has been present since the beginning of time, darkness and light. And in John, he talks about darkness. I'm going to put that up there. It's the first verse, Ethan. It's about darkness. Next one. It says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And that's really important for us to hold on to. That there is a darkness that seeks to overtake us. But there is light that always shines brighter than the darkness. And so what my hope is that you, over the next couple weeks, will begin a process that hopefully lasts way beyond the next couple weeks, to where the way that we deal with the darkness inside of us is we take these things that are deep inside of us and we talk about them out loud and we drag them into the light. Because the next verse, go to the next slide, it says, Jesus spoke to them saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Now, I'm not going to insult you with just giving you the church answer, even though that is the answer. Because I think sometimes it's a cop-out when we go to church and it's like, what's the answer? Well, the answer is Jesus. And then we just leave it at that. So we're going to dig a little deeper in the next couple of weeks of exactly how Jesus can help you start to get out of darkness, start to have the conversation. And we're not going to solve it in 2 weeks. We might not even solve it in 6 months. We might not even solve it in a year. But what I'm hoping to do is we start the conversation. And we start to say out loud the things that are inside of us that we've allowed to own us for way too long. And it's my hope that you don't just say it out loud, but that you actually scream it. That maybe today, the first step we make in trying to get better, trying to heal, trying to figure out what's going on inside of us, maybe today the first step is just to say it out loud. To find a safe space with some people and to say, I don't know any answers, but I know this. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm dealing with. And I just got to say it out loud. I got to scream it out loud. I got to get it outside of me so this thing stops owning me. Because I want to be better. And I want to be who God wants me to be. And maybe you don't know how to be any of those things. But maybe the only thing you want to know, right now, is you just don't want to be who you are right now and keep dealing with the things that you're dealing with. And so that's what we're praying for. And so we're going to send you guys to your groups. I'm going to ask you a favor. I'm going to ask you to be honest and vulnerable in your groups. I'm going to ask you to take a chance. I'm going to ask you right now today to be bold enough, and maybe you're just tired enough of dealing with these things that you've been dealing with, to maybe today just say it out loud. And we're not going to have all the answers for you. I promise you that. We're not. But today we're going to start having that conversation. And by you saying it out loud, you start to let that thing inside of you stop to own you. Because the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome the light. And the only hope that you and I have is Jesus, who is the light of the world, who's come into the darkness to take the darkness out.
That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and